In a democratic environment, it is difficult to find any situation without political interpretation or undertone. Such act may be political from onset or may be forced, as it were, to assume a political posture. The recently declared state of emergency in 3 states in the northern part of the country is not different in any way. This is Politicscope, and I am Uzonna Ononye. It first started like a rumor, which presidency information managers described as false. Then, few days after, the Nigerian Governors Forum made a statement rejecting the declaration of state of emergency in the troubled states of Borno and Yobe. President Goodluck Jonathan delivered a State of the Nation speech.
Previously, we adopted a multi-track approach to the resolution of these problems through actions which include persuasion, dialogue, and widespread consultation with the political, religious, and community leaders in the affected states. We exercise restraint to allow for all efforts by both state governors and well-meaning Nigerians to stop the repeated cases of mindless violence. Yet, the insurgents and terrorists seek to prevent government from fulfilling its constitutional obligations to the people as they pursue their fanatical agenda of mayhem, mass murder, division, and separatism.
Reactions followed. The Action Congress of Nigeria agreed with the president that the situation in the affected states called for quick action, but disagreed on the grounds that a declaration of open-ended emergency rule is tantamount to threat to democracy. The party called on the Senate to be mindful of the possible political undercurrent in the declaration. Human rights activist and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mike Ozekome, said the president has violated the constitution by the declaration. Another senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, saw the president's approach as a departure from the era he described as days of impunity. Mr. Falana commended the president for not tampering with democratic structures in the state. He argued that the relevant section of the Constitution empowering the president to declare emergency rule did not approve of removing any elected public office holder. Christian Association of Nigeria said, though it was belated, but still the best option within the circumstance. Much more reactions followed.
The handwriting was already on the wall when President Goodluck Jonathan had to abort his visit to Namibia in the wake of gruesome mass murders of security personnel in Borno and Nasarawa states. To start off, the provisions of the declaration have doused any questions that may arise about its legality. The president has chosen to keep governors and political office holders in states affected in office, thereby neutralizing the first line of conflict.
It's purely constitutional, and within the ambits of the constitution, it cannot be faulted. And I believe the National Assembly will see the reasons for which the president declared the emergency situation in those states. So which is different from emergency rule, but a state of emergency.
The second question that arises is if the declaration is beneficial to the people of the states involved and the citizens of Nigeria as a whole.
As Minister of War, I know the implication of that unrest to some of my projects in the Northeast. On Kano Meduguri dualization projects alone, where I have about 5 contractors in various sections of that road, each of the contractors have lost at least 2 expatriates and other Nigerian workers as a result of the activities of the insurgents. So I very much believe that what Mr. President has done would bring sanity into the security situation in that particular region, because we cannot abdicate our responsibility as a government.
The bottom line is that the declaration of a state of emergency was necessary, as the president repeatedly stressed during his broadcast, to stem the tide of mass murder and destruction of infrastructure in affected states.
In many places, They have destroyed the Nigerian flag and other symbols of state authority, and in their place, hoisted strange flags suggesting the exercise of alternative sovereignty. They have attacked government buildings and facilities. They have murdered innocent citizens and state officials. They have set houses ablaze and have taken women and children as hostages. These actions amount to a declaration of war and a deliberate attempt to undermine the authority of the Nigerian state.
The question that perhaps has not been addressed is why select only 3 states when many others had come under attack, some as recently as last month.
The National Assembly is expected to ratify the proclamation of a state of emergency by the President in the days to come. At the lobby of the National Assembly, lawmakers were seen early in the morning in groups discussing the latest development ahead of plenary. For the lawmakers, especially those from the troubled states, this may just be what was needed.
By cashing in on Section 305, the President has now become the Commander-in-Chief in control of the security situation in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. That is my understanding. And equally now, instead of the police taking charge of the civil security in that area, the military will now be flooded.
I believe the President rose up to an emerging challenge. The country needed an injection of a sense of command, a sense of being in charge, which is what the President has done.
There, however, seems to be a consensus among many lawmakers that the President got it right this time by not sacking the governors and lawmakers in the affected states, as was the case during the Olusegun Obasanjo government.
We should move away from the old ways of General Obasanjo, when a state of emergency will be declared and the governments of the elected governments of the states will be sacked. What President Jonathan did yesterday is perfectly in order.
If you look at Section 1, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution, it does not contemplate the sacking of the governor or the legislative arm at all.
But there is also some level of apprehension about how feasible it will be leaving the democratic structures in these states intact and also expecting the military to more or less take complete charge of security situation.
The military is in charge of security only, while the normal services will continue. People will still go to school, people will still go to hospital, there is need for water supply, there is need for road construction. The military are there to ensure that the children are safe to go to school. The doctors and the patients are safe to go to the hospital. The people who provide us with water to drink are safe to go and do their job.
The decision of President Jonathan to restrict the emergency rule to only 3 states has also left some lawmakers wondering what the yardstick was, especially bearing in mind that some other states like Plateau, Kano, and Kaduna have had more than their own share of violence.
The issue of security challenge that we have in this country is more than in 3 states. But then I am thinking that maybe the President is taking one step at a time or taking a portion at a time, because by the time you say you look at the security challenges in the various states in this country, you may end up recommending for declaration of state of emergency in almost all the parts of this country.
For now, all eyes appear to be on the military high command to see how the next phase of this operation will go.
It may be convenient to say that the declaration of emergency rule in Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe states enjoy wide popularity, but some issues seem glaring. President Goodluck Jonathan has enough constitutional support in the often cited Section 305, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended in stepping into the crisis in this manner, and he did so with regard to democratic structure. As raised by some critics, there is no time frame for the military operation in those states. In other words, occupation of the states by troops may linger. how the organs of government, including the state governors and the members of the legislature, will function within a defined state of emergency will be seen. Putting it differently, will the state be run by the governors or by the commander of the military troop deployed to the state? Now, while the presidency denied the rumor and turned few days after to validate it, is still unknown. It is not clear at the moment how the Nigerian Governors Forum, led by Rotimi Amechi, will respond, since the emergency rule still preserved the office of the governors.